Hey guys, I'm really glad you're here tonight. Before we drift into the story, let's take a slow breath together. Not because you have to, but because it feels surprisingly nice to gift yourself a tiny moment of quiet at the end of the day. You've made it through whatever you had to make it through, and now you're here, settling into a soft space where nothing is expected of you, nothing rushed, nothing demanding attention. Just this calm moment and a gentle story waiting to unfold. If you want, you can dim your lights a little, fluff your pillow, maybe tug the blanket around your shoulders in that oddly perfect way that makes you feel like a cozy human burrito. And remember, you can like, subscribe, or comment, but only if you really feel like it. No pressure at all. This video is here to help you unwind, relax, and hopefully guide you into an easy, comfortable sleep. Tonight's story is about an island, but not the kind you see on postcards or in glossy travel magazines. No, this island is quieter, softer, more thoughtful. The kind of place that doesn't just exist on a map, but inside a feeling. A place that seems to know you before you know it. It's called the island that remembered everything, and despite what the name suggests, it isn't scary or overwhelming. It doesn't cling to memories in a dramatic or painful way. Instead, the island holds them the way the ocean holds reflections, gently, patiently, without trying to change anything. It remembers the things people forget on purpose, and the things people forget by accident. It remembers the laughter that escaped too fast, the words someone wished they'd said, the little moments that mattered more than anyone realized at the time. People who visit the island often find something they didn't know they were looking for. A sense of peace, a missing puzzle piece, or sometimes just the comforting truth that they're not alone in trying to make sense of their own memories. And tonight, you are going to visit this island. You don't need a suitcase. You don't need a plan. You don't even need a reason. You just need to follow the slow rhythm of your breath and let the story guide you there, step by gentle step. As the story begins, you find yourself standing on a quiet shore, just before dawn. That soft blue kind of light that makes everything feel a bit unreal, like the world hasn't fully loaded its textures yet. The air is cool but comforting, brushing your skin like a silk ribbon. You can hear the ocean breathing in long, unhurried waves, each one curling onto the sand as though whispering a secret. And that's when you hear it, a faint hum, low, melodic, like someone humming to themselves in another room. But there's no one else here. Not on this shore, not anywhere near enough to explain the sound. The sand beneath your feet is warm, as though it remembers the sun from yesterday. When you take a few steps, you notice that the grains shift in a strangely deliberate way, almost as if they know you're here and are adjusting to welcome you. It's subtle, but it makes you feel as though the island has been expecting you. The sky begins to lighten slowly, unveiling soft streaks of lavender and dusty peach at the horizon. The air smells faintly of driftwood and flowers. Flowers you don't recognize, but somehow feel nostalgic for. The humming sound deepens as the tide rolls closer, and for a moment, you could swear the ocean is singing. Not with words, but with a feeling. Something gentle. Something familiar, something that stirs in your chest, as if echoing a memory you haven't met yet. You don't rush. You let the sound settle. You let the air fill your lungs. You let the soft strangeness of the moment wrap slowly around you. Because you're not just arriving on an island. You're arriving at a place that remembers you. And yet, somehow, this doesn't feel intimidating. It feels relieving, like you've finally reached a place where nothing inside you needs to hide. The waves stretch toward you, brushing the edge of your toes. And quietly, very quietly, the island exhales, almost as if whispering, "Welcome back." You stand there a little longer, letting the warmth of the sand and the sigh of the ocean settle into your body. There's a special kind of silence here. Not empty, not lonely, but full. Full of subtle sounds you couldn't hear anywhere else. The tiny clicking of shells shifting in the water, the faint rattle of palm fronds waking up in the breeze, the echo of something old and gentle moving just beneath the surface. When you finally begin to walk along the shoreline, it feels almost ceremonial. Not because the island is demanding anything formal of you, but because every step seems to reveal a little more of the island's personality. It's as if the land is speaking in gestures rather than words. Your footsteps leave impressions in the sand, but unlike normal footprints, these ones shimmer faintly for a moment before settling into stillness. You kneel down to touch one, curious, and the texture is soft, almost velvety. The sand holds your fingers as if greeting them, and in the same instant, you're suddenly aware of a memory flickering at the edge of your mind. Not a big one, something tiny. A laugh, someone's voice, a warm hand brushing yours. It's gone again before you can pin it down, but the afterglow lingers, like a single spark drifting through the darkness. You look up, and the shoreline curves into a gentle path, bordered by tall, pale grasses, swaying as if they're waving at you. The island feels alive, not in the way creatures are alive, but in the way a story is alive. Every element gently responding to your presence, not intrusively, but with a quiet awareness. A small flock of pale blue birds lifts into the air nearby, each one glowing with a dim, ethereal shimmer. They don't chirp or call. Instead, they hum, the same melody you heard earlier. It's soft and sweet, tender in a way that makes the back of your throat tighten just a little. The birds drift farther inland, not in a straight line, but in a loose spiral, like they're playfully inviting you to follow, without making it obvious they're trying to lead you somewhere. The path pulls you forward until you reach a patch of sand that feels different beneath your feet, cooler, smoother. And when you look down, you see something incredible. The sand isn't just white, it's threaded with thin, pearlescent lines. They curve and loop across the ground like the delicate etchings of a map. A map of the island, a map of something else. It's hard to tell, but as you step onto it, a soft pulse travels through the ground, warm and reassuring. Not a warning, a greeting. And the hummingbirds give a gentle dip in their flight, as if acknowledging that you found the first meaningful place of your journey. You keep following the map-like pattern, and it leads you toward a small rise in the land. When you step over the crest, the landscape opens into a wide, tranquil lagoon, bordered by stones so smooth they look polished. The water glows faintly, not bright enough to be supernatural, just enough to make the lagoon look as though it's holding a pocket of dawn inside it. You step closer, and the surface ripples, not from wind, not from movement, but as if the lagoon recognizes you. Then, out of nowhere, the surface flickers, like a reflection trying to reorganize itself, and suddenly you see you, but not your exact reflection, not the one you'd see in a bathroom mirror or a shop window. This version looks softened, calmer, like a version of yourself who has exhaled every worry, every tension, every expectation. You blink, and the reflection shifts, not changing, just breathing with you. Then, lightly, like a dragonfly landing on water, a memory touches the surface. It's faint, delicate, like a distant echo drifting through a long hallway. You sense it before you recognize it, the memory of a moment you once brushed aside, assuming it didn't matter. But here, on this island, even the small things matter. The memory surfaces as a feeling rather than a scene, a soft warmth in your chest, the quiet certainty that someone once cared for you in a way you didn't fully understand at the time. The lagoon holds it for a moment, letting you feel it, not forcing anything. And when you exhale, the water smooths again, as if releasing the memory back into its gentle keeping. You stand up, and the hum of the birds grows a little brighter. They settle on a nearby branch, tilting their heads as though watching your reaction. And somewhere inside you, something softens, something tight you've been carrying without noticing. You whisper a quiet thank you, not sure if you're speaking to the island, the lagoon, or the memory itself. But the air answers with a warm, subtle breeze. You continue walking around the lagoon, feeling lighter somehow, like the island quietly rearranged something inside you without ever touching it directly. The air grows warmer as the sun climbs just a little higher, though it still hides behind a soft veil of morning clouds. Everything here moves slowly, as though time itself is drowsy and content. The humming birds glide above you in a loose formation, their soft glow dimming and brightening in a rhythm that feels almost like breathing. They're not leading you now, they're simply keeping you company, like tiny guardians of quiet moments. As you follow the curve of the lagoon, the terrain shifts. The sand gives way to a path of smooth, pale stones that look as if they've been placed there intentionally, though by whom or by what, you can't imagine. The stones are cool under your feet, yet each step feels grounding, steadying, like the land itself is helping you find your balance. The path leads you into a grove of tall, slender trees, with leaves shaped like elongated teardrops. The leaves catch the light in shimmering hues of soft gold and silver, each movement sending ripples of color dancing through the air. When the breeze moves through them, they create a soft chiming sound, not metallic, but airy, like glass bells filled with warm wind. You pause, listening, and the trees respond. Their chimes shift into a slow, harmonious melody, a welcoming lullaby, a familiar one. It takes you a moment to realize why it feels familiar. You've heard this tune before. Not recently, not even consciously, but somewhere far back in your memory. Maybe hummed by someone when you were young, or whispered by a moment you thought you'd forgotten. The melody strokes something deep inside you, a place you don't visit often but recognize instantly when touched. You move farther into the grove. The light dims in a peaceful way, filtering through layers of leaves that glow like old lanterns. The ground here is covered in a soft moss that cushions your steps, making the world quieter with every movement. Even your breathing sounds different. Slower, steadier, like it's syncing with the rhythm of the island. In the center of the grove stands a single tree, unlike the others. It's wider, older, its bark etched with delicate spirals that look almost like writing. Not a language you know, but a language your heart seems to understand anyway. The spirals light up faintly when you approach, glowing in soft blue-white lines. You reach out and lightly rest your fingers on the bark, and immediately, gently, something stirs. Not a memory exactly, more like an awareness. The island is paying attention. A tiny vibration hums beneath your fingertips, subtle but unmistakable. The spirals shift, one pattern flowing into another, until a small opening appears in the bark. Not a door, not even a crack, but a translucent shimmer like a window made of warm light. Inside the shimmer, you see a scene forming, not in sharp detail, but in soft impressions. Colors, movement, emotion. At first, you think you're watching someone else's memory, a stranger's moment. But slowly, the shapes become more familiar. The scene shows a path you used to walk, a place you haven't thought about in years. There's no sound, but the emotions rise in quiet waves. Comfort, curiosity, a small spark of courage. It's you, a younger you, not doing anything monumental, just being. And somehow, that simple moment feels important here. Like the island is reminding you that even the ordinary parts of who you were still matter. That the quieter versions of you, the ones who weren't accomplishing things, performing for anyone, or trying to figure everything out, still left traces worth remembering. The shimmer fades, and the bark returns to its soft, natural glow. You step back, you inhale, you exhale, and you feel something shift again. Another tiny untying of a knot you didn't know you had. As you leave the grove, the trees give one last soft chime, almost like a farewell, or maybe a blessing. The hummingbirds gather above you once more, forming a gentle V-shape in the air. But instead of guiding you forward, they're facing outward, as though granting you space to choose your own direction now. And as you walk back into the opening light of the island, the breeze carries a quiet truth toward you. The island remembers everything, but it holds what you're ready to see, only when you're ready to see it. You walk away from the grove, with the soft chiming of the trees still echoing faintly behind you. It lingers in your mind, the way a gentle lullaby lingers after the final notes fade. Not loud, not forceful, but present in a comforting way. The air seems warmer now, touched by the golden early morning light that spills slowly across the island. It paints the sand, the stones, even the leaves with a softness that feels like waking up from a long, quiet dream. The lagoon is behind you, and ahead lies a stretch of land you haven't explored yet. A gentle rise of rolling dunes covered in pale, wispy grasses that sway like slow-moving waves. You step onto the path that winds through them, and the grasses brush lightly against your legs, their feathery tips tickling your skin in a way that feels oddly affectionate. Almost as if the island is giving you a soft nudge forward. As you climb the first small dune, you notice something strange. The sound of your footsteps is muted, not only by the softness of the sand, but by something else entirely. It's as if the land here has decided to dampen noise, encouraging a kind of quiet reflection. Even the birds above have softened their humming, the notes drifting in wide, airy intervals like a slow-motion melody. When you reach the top of the dune, the view opens up into something breathtaking. Below lies a field, not made of flowers, not of grass, but of light. Thousands of tiny glowing orbs float just above the ground, bobbing gently as if riding unseen currents. They vary in size, some no larger than fireflies, others like softly glowing marbles. Their colors shift between pale blue, warm peach, soft lavender, and quiet gold. You descend the dune slowly, mesmerized by the glowing field. The air feels different down here, thicker, warmer, and humming with a soft, almost musical vibration. When you reach the first cluster of orbs, one drifts toward you, hovering at eye level. It pulses once, softly, like a heartbeat. Then, just for a moment, the orb shows you something. Not fully formed, not a clear picture, but a feeling. A moment from your life that carried tenderness. A time when someone spoke gently to you. A time when you allowed yourself to soften. a moment so small you barely noticed it then. Yet the island remembered. The orb drifts away, and another takes its place. This one is warm. It glows with a soft golden light, and when it pulses, a different feeling stirs. A forgotten moment of comfort. A memory so mundane it should have dissolved years ago. Yet here it floats, preserved. You walk deeper into the field, surrounded by thousands of glowing memories. Not all yours. Some belong to other travelers who once visited the island. Some belong to the island itself. And some might belong to people who never came here physically, but were carried here through stories, wishes, or unspoken thoughts. You reach out to touch one, and it responds with a tiny upward swirl, as if excited to be acknowledged. The moment it brushes your fingertips, a warm ripple spreads through your hand. You remember a smile, a moment of unexpected kindness, someone holding a door open, someone laughing at your joke, sincerely and with their whole face, someone telling you, in a quiet voice, that they were grateful for you. The orb glides away, leaving the warmth inside your chest. The more you explore, the more you feel the field revealing its purpose, not to overwhelm you with memories, but to remind you that even tiny moments can be worth carrying with you. Some orbs drift higher, carrying memories that feel lighter, moments of joy, play, curiosity. Others float lower, closer to the ground, holding heavier tones. But even those glow gently, as if softened by time and distance. One orb, a small, pale blue one, hovers near your hand and pulses with something different. A small sadness, a memory of wanting comfort you didn't receive at the time. It touches your hand, and instead of tightening, your chest softens. The sadness is gentle now, not sharp. It no longer demands attention. It just wants acknowledgement. You breathe through it, and the orb brightens. Then it drifts upward, lighter than before, almost as if the island helped it find a new shape. When you finally reach the far edge of the field, the orbs part in a gentle wave, creating a clear path forward. And without a sound, they dim in unison, not disappearing, just settling, like a chorus bowing at the end of a soft, wordless song. You step beyond them, carrying a quiet glow inside you. The land ahead flattens into a serene plateau overlooking the sea. From here, the horizon stretches endlessly, blending sky and water into one soft band of pale silver blue. The air carries a salty sweetness, and the breeze feels warmer than before, like a gentle embrace around your shoulders. As you walk toward the cliffside, you notice a structure. Not a building exactly, but something that resembles a long stone bench carved directly from the rock. It's smooth, worn by time, and faintly warm from the morning light. When you sit down, the stone shifts subtly, adjusting beneath you in a way that feels almost suspiciously tailored. The island's hospitality never seems to be accidental. From this vantage point, you can see the shoreline far below, the waves moving in slow, rhythmic strokes, brushing against the sand, as though painting the same line again and again, each time with a slightly different intention. Then something peculiar happens. The waves begin to glow. At first you think it's just sunlight catching them at the perfect angle. But then the glow strengthens, expanding outward in ripples of soft light. You lean forward slightly, watching as the waves form shapes, not detailed, not literal, but suggestive. You see outlines, gestures, movements that seem to echo human silhouettes. It's as if the ocean is reenacting moments, not with precision, but with essence. A wave curls and forms a shape that looks like two people speaking to each other. Another swell ripples into what feels like an embrace. A third lights up with a spark of laughter. These aren't your memories. Not directly. These feel universal. Moments the island has collected over centuries. Moments shared by countless people. Moments that belong to everyone and no one at the same time. The waves shift again, and now they show something more subtle. A person standing alone, shoulders slumped, breathing slowly in the quiet. Another wave mirrors a moment when someone sits near the water and lets their thoughts drift away. Another shows the simple outline of a hand resting gently on a knee, a private moment of self-comfort. These memories feel honest, untouched, present without judgment. As you watch, the waves gradually slow down. The light dims, turning from bright white to warm amber to a soft, fading blue. The sea returns to its natural rhythm, leaving you with the impression that you've witnessed something intimate. A glimpse of humanity as seen by the island. You sit there for a long moment, letting the breeze play with your hair, listening to the gentle percussion of water against stone. There's something soothing about being reminded that moments of tenderness, even tiny ones, happen everywhere, all the time. Even when you're not there to see them, even when they don't belong to you. Eventually, the stone bench shifts again, just a subtle nudge, as if encouraging you to stand, because there is still more of the island waiting for you. When you rise, the sea breeze circles you once, warm and playful, and then releases you back to the island's path. A narrow trail winds down from the plateau, carved between two gentle slopes of rock covered in moss. As you descend, you hear a faint sound, not humming this time, but laughter. Soft laughter, playful, light as a feather drifting on air. You turn a corner on the path and see the source. A small cove hidden between the rocks, where tiny creatures, no bigger than the palm of your hand, flit above the water like living sparks. They shimmer in pastel colors and leave trails of glittering dust behind them that dissolve into the air with soft little pops. They are laughing. Yes, actually laughing. A high, tinkling sound like little bells being flicked. When one notices you, it zooms closer, hovering inches from your face. It looks like a mix between a moth, a jellyfish, and a tiny child's drawing of a miracle. It tilts its head, observing you curiously, then emits a cheerful trill that tugs an involuntary smile from you. More gather, a circle of glowing, giggling creatures, and then, suddenly, they sync their movements. They spin, dive, swirl in loops, putting on a tiny, whimsical performance just for you. A dance of pure joy. A reminder that not all memories are heavy. Some are featherlight. Some exist just to make you smile. When the dance ends, they scatter upward in a burst of shimmering dust that drifts like glittering mist before dissipating. The sound of their laughter lingers in the air long after they're gone. And you continue down the path, hearts a little lighter, steps a little easier. The trail from the cove leads you into an area where the landscape changes again. The island seems to enjoy surprising you with new moods, new textures, new emotional atmospheres. This part of the island feels quieter, more contemplative. The grass here grows in long, flowing ribbons that sway like curtains. The color shifts from soft green to dusty rose, depending on how the wind touches it. And scattered among the tall strands are smooth stones shaped into perfect circles, each no bigger than a dinner plate. You bend down to touch one of the stones, curious about their purpose. The moment your fingers make contact, the stone gives off a faint tone. Not a ring, not a bell, but a soft note. A single pitch that resonates gently through your fingertips. You press the stone again. Another note, same pitch but warmer. You press a different stone, a different tone, lower, deeper, like the island's version of a bass. Soon you realize, this field is an instrument, not one you play with precision, but one designed for the simplest, most instinctive gestures, touch, movement, curiosity. You step on a stone and hear a soft hum. You brush another with your foot, and it responds with a delicate chime. When you move farther in, the stones begin to react not only to touch, but to presence. As you walk, the stones glow faintly and emit notes that weave together into a melody. It's slow, wandering, and deeply soothing, as if the island is composing music based on your footsteps. And then, something beautiful happens. The melody begins to align with your heartbeat. Not exactly, but close enough that the rhythm feels familiar, comforting. The notes rise and fall in gentle waves that match the cadence of your breath. Each step becomes part of a symphony made just for you. As you move through the melodic field, memories surface. Not because the island forces them, but because the music opens a gentle inner doorway. You remember quiet moments of your own life when music comforted you, when a certain melody made you feel understood, when sound softened the edges of a heavy day. You pause, standing very still. The stones sense your stillness. They respond with a single, long, peaceful tone, like a deep exhale. When you finally continue walking, the melody shifts again, brighter now, with little sparkles of sound that feel like musical laughter. At the end of the field, you step off the last stone, and the entire melody resolves into a soft, satisfying conclusion. Not a grand finale, nothing dramatic, just a gentle musical sigh, closing a chapter with grace. You look back, and the stones dim to their natural warm grey, as if waiting patiently for the next traveller to discover them. Ahead of you lies a new path, made of soft earth and lined with small white flowers that open as you approach. Their petals unfurl with a faint shimmer, releasing a scent that smells like a mixture of vanilla, sea salt, and something pleasantly unplaceable, the kind of scent you remember long after you smell it. The path curves and leads you toward a large sloping hill with a lone tree at its peak. The tree has wide, sheltering branches and leaves that look like folded pages of old notebooks. The breeze makes the leaves flutter, and you hear the soft rustle of paper, as though the tree is reading its own thoughts. You approach slowly, not out of fear, but respect. The hill feels like a sacred place, a vantage point where the island reveals something meaningful. When you finally reach the top, you stand beneath the tree's wide canopy. The view is extraordinary. You can see the lagoon from earlier, the field of glowing orbs, the melodic stones, and even the distant shimmering outline of the grove. Everything you've seen so far feels connected, like chapters of a story the island is telling you, through experiences rather than words. The tree's leaves flutter again, and a single page-shaped leaf detaches. It floats down gently, carried by the breeze, until it lands softly in your hand. On its surface, in delicate glowing ink, is a single line. Every memory is a place you can return to, but you don't have to stay there. You breathe in deeply, and as the sun climbs a little higher, the island seems to shimmer with quiet approval. You stand beneath the tree for a moment longer, the leaf-light message resting softly in your hand. The words glow faintly before the ink dissolves into the surface of the leaf, leaving it blank again, as if the island only needed you to read the message once. When the breeze carries it away, it drifts upward, fluttering like a tiny white bird until it disappears into the branches. You take a slow breath and begin descending the hill. From up here, every path looks interconnected, like threads in a tapestry, woven purposefully even when you can't immediately see the pattern. As you move down, the breeze shifts direction and carries with it a soft, warm scent of something like honey and warm stone. The path curves gently, leading you into a wide valley with tall grasses that sway in slow, circular patterns. Instead of bending with the wind, the grasses seem to follow their own rhythm, moving like pendulums in a quiet clock. As you walk through them, the movement forms spirals around your body, gentle ones, calming, like the island is tracing invisible patterns of thought around you. The valley floor is soft beneath your feet, cushioned with patches of moss so velvety, it feels like walking on clouds. As you continue, you hear a sound. A low hum at first, like someone singing from far away. But the more you listen, the more you realize it's not a voice. It's a vibration coming from the ground. Curious, you kneel down and press your palm to the earth. The hum deepens, warm, slow, steady, a heartbeat. The valley, it seems, has a heartbeat. You stay there, hand against the moss, feeling the gentle thrum sync itself with your own pulse. There's something comforting in this, as if the island is reminding you that life is not a race of moments, but a shared rhythm. That even when you feel disconnected, there are places in the world, quiet, grounded places, that help pull you back into yourself. Eventually, you rise and continue onward. The valley opens gradually, giving way to a river flowing with impossibly clear water. So clear that you can see the stones at the bottom, smooth, rounded, shining like polished gems in hues of soft blues and greens. The river is slow, almost lazy, its surface reflecting the sky in a way that makes it difficult to tell where water ends and air begins. As you approach the bank, the flow of the river shifts slightly, bending toward you, as if acknowledging your presence. You crouch down and dip your fingers into the water. It's warm, not lukewarm, not sun-warmed, but inherently warm, the way water in a dream feels warm because the dream wants it to be. The moment your fingers touch it, the river reacts. A soft ripple spreads outward, forming concentric circles that shimmer with a faint glow. The glow intensifies, and within the ripples, you begin to see impressions forming. Not as images, but as sensations. A memory of being comforted. A memory of comfort you gave someone else. A moment when you felt understood. A moment when you wished you were. The river doesn't show them as pictures. It lets you feel them instead. Gentle, soft, never overwhelming. When you pull your hand back, the water dims again, returning to its crystalline clarity. A small wave nudges your fingers, a tiny, playful goodbye, before the river resumes its slow, meandering pace. Across the river lies another path. You follow it, stepping across a row of stones that rise from the water just long enough for each footstep, then sink again behind you. It feels symbolic, though you're not sure of what. Perhaps the idea that every step appears when you're ready to take it. On the other side, the path leads into a grove of willow-like trees. Their branches hang low, almost touching the ground, and the leaves glow softly like lanterns. As you pass beneath them, each leaf lights up a little brighter, illuminating a gentle walkway through the grove. There is no sound here, no wind, no birds, no distant hum, just silence, but not empty silence. A silence full of possibility, a silence that feels like an invitation. You step deeper, and the grove seems to hold its breath, waiting, listening, not judging, just present. You don't know what you'll find here. But the island does, and it knows exactly when to show it to you. Inside the willow grove, the light shifts into a soft twilight glow, despite the sun still rising outside. The branches arch overhead, forming a gentle tunnel of pale green light. Each step feels intentional, as if the island is guiding not your feet, but your attention. You notice something unusual. The grove has its own faint scent. Not flowers, not wood. Something softer, like the smell of an old book blended with warm rain. It smells like reflection. It smells like memory softened by time. As you walk, you start to hear something. A delicate ticking sound. Not mechanical ticking, but more like droplets landing on leaves. You look up, expecting raindrops, but the sky above the branches is dry. The sound grows clearer, rhythmic, almost playful, like a clock that decided it no longer wants to keep time seriously. You follow the sound until you reach a small clearing in the center of the grove. There, resting on a patch of glowing moss, is a structure that makes you stop in your tracks. A clock tower, miniature, barely taller than your knee, shaped like a tiny lighthouse made of smooth white stone. And at the top, a clock face slowly turns. Backwards, tick, tick, tick. Each backward tick echoes through the grove with a gentle, lulling rhythm. You kneel beside it, curious. The clock doesn't feel ominous or eerie. It feels thoughtful. You extend a hand toward it, not touching, just hovering close. The air around the clock grows warmer. Then the hands slow, and stop. The grove goes silent. A soft glow forms around the little lighthouse-like clock. It expands gently, like breath misting on glass. In that glow, you feel something tug softly inside you. Not painful, not intrusive. A gentle pull toward a memory you've avoided, not because it was traumatic, but because it carried a weight you didn't know how to put down. A moment when you wished you'd spoken up. A moment when you stayed quiet to keep the peace. A moment when you needed comfort, but pretended you didn't. The memory hovers inside you like a bubble, delicate, shimmering. But the island isn't forcing you to relive it. It's giving you a chance to look at it with new eyes. You let the memory settle, you breathe, and slowly the heaviness becomes softer, not erased, but lighter, less sharp, like a stone that's been polished smooth by waves. The clock resumes ticking, still backward, still slow. But now the sound feels different, like the island is telling you, what's behind you is not lost, it's simply quieter now. You rise gently and continue through the grove. The path leads to a stone archway covered in pale vines. The vines bloom with tiny luminescent flowers, shaped like teardrops, each one glowing a different shade of soft pastel blue. When you pass through the arch, you enter another small clearing. This one filled with floating shapes, not orbs like before. These shapes resemble folded pieces of paper, drifting through the air like tiny boats sailing an invisible ocean. You reach out to catch one. It lands softly in your palm. When it opens, glowing words appear. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering without holding on. The words fold themselves away and drift upward, joining the others. Dozens of them float through the grove, each carrying a quiet message, each dissolving into light when they're ready. This place feels like a sanctuary for unspoken thoughts, for the things we hope to understand someday. You walk through the clearing, and each floating paper boat glows a little brighter as you pass, acknowledging your presence, your openness, your movement forward. At the far end of the grove, a narrow path leads back toward the sunlight. As you step through the curtain of willow branches, the world brightens again. Warm, alive, gently golden. And the island seems to exhale with you. The sunlight welcomes you back with a soft warmth, like stepping from a cool pool into the gentle embrace of a morning sunbeam. The path opens onto a long stretch of beach, but unlike the first shore you visited, this one curves inward, forming a serene crescent bay. The sand here is darker, glistening like powdered moonstone. When you walk across it, faint footprints form behind you, glowing softly before fading again. The waves are calm, quieter than before, as though they're listening more than speaking. As you approach the water, you notice something extraordinary. Every wave that reaches the shore carries small fragments of light, tiny particles that scatter across the sand before dissolving. They look like scattered stars falling to earth. You crouch down to watch more closely. One wave rolls in and leaves behind a glowing streak. Another wave draws it out to sea. The exchange feels purposeful, a conversation between land and water. You step closer to the surf, letting the edge of a small wave brush your toes. A warmth spreads through you. Not physical warmth, but something quieter. A warmth of recognition. And then the waves begin to form shapes again. Not figures this time, but patterns, circles, colliding, overlapping, gradually forming a larger shape, something like a shell, a spiral, a symbol of returning, a symbol of growth, a symbol of old things finding new forms. You stand there watching the symbol change shape with each wave, shifting between spirals, rings, and rippling lines. It feels like the island is showing you something wordless, a language made of motion and light. A gentle breeze nudges you to lift your gaze, and when you do, you see something on the far end of the bay. A large, smooth stone rising from the sand, carved naturally by wind and waves into a perfect oval. You feel drawn to it. As you walk along the shoreline, the island grows quieter, but not empty, comfortably quiet, a soft, thoughtful stillness. When you reach the stone, you notice that its surface is almost glass-like, smooth enough to reflect your silhouette. But instead of showing you exactly as you are, the reflection looks softened, lighter, like the version of yourself you're becoming on this island. You place a hand on the stone. A faint vibration travels upward through your arm, a warm, soothing current. The stone begins to glow where your hand rests, a soft golden ring expanding outward like ripples on water. And then the reflection shifts, not drastically, gently. It shows you standing a little taller, breathing a little deeper, carrying a little less. Not a fantasy version of you, just a version that feels more settled, more aligned. A version that exists within you already, maybe closer than you thought. You stay with the reflection for a few breaths, letting it settle inside you like a quiet truth. When you finally step back, the stone dims, returning to its natural state. But the feeling remains, something grounded, something calm. You turn toward the horizon, where the sunlight dances across the waves. The island feels vast and intimate at the same time, full of places both discovered and unseen. And you know, deep inside, that it's guiding you toward something. Not an answer, not a destination, but a deeper understanding. You take a slow breath. The tide rolls in. The tide rolls out. And once again, the island whispers. Keep going. You leave the crescent bay slowly, your feet tracing soft paths through the shimmering sand. With every step, the glow beneath your footprints fades, leaving the beach untouched, as if the island gently erases your footsteps, not to forget them, but to keep space open for whoever needs this place next. Ahead, the shoreline curves into a narrow peninsula that stretches like a peaceful arm into the sea. The air grows cooler, touched by a gentle mist drifting low across the ground. It swirls around your ankles as you walk, forming soft spirals that shift and scatter like shy spirits. As you move farther along the peninsula, you notice the sand growing lighter. Instead of the dark moonstone grains from before, the ground here is covered in fine, powdery sand that sparkles like crushed pearls. Each step sends glittering dust into the air, where it floats for a moment before dissolving into the morning light. The peninsula narrows until the land forms a delicate fingertip, reaching toward a cluster of small, jagged rocks. Between them lies a round, shimmering pool, a tide pool, but unlike any tide pool you've ever seen. Its water is still, glass-like, and swirling lightly with pale lavender light. You kneel beside it. The pool is so clear you can see its entire depth, only a few feet, and yet the water feels impossibly deep, like a doorway into something larger. You lean closer, expecting to see your reflection. Instead, you see movement, not fish, not plants, but shapes, abstract and fluid, drifting beneath the surface like living brushstrokes of color. You watch, mesmerized. One of the shapes swirls upward, coming close enough to the surface that you can see its form more clearly. It resembles a silver ribbon, twisting and curling in soft coils, glowing faintly in the lavender light. The ribbon pauses beneath the surface, holding itself steady as if watching you. Then another shape rises, this one warmer in color, like a brushstroke of soft gold. The two shapes circle each other, weaving patterns that feel strangely familiar. You dip your fingertips into the water. The moment your skin touches it, the shapes rearrange themselves. The pool brightens, a swirl of soft gold and silver. And suddenly, the water shows you something familiar but unexpected. A memory of connection. Not a grand connection, not a dramatic revelation, but something small, something human. A conversation that mattered more than you admitted. A moment when someone understood you, or when you understood someone else. The pool holds the memory carefully, like a scene painted onto light. You don't feel overwhelmed, you feel seen. The silver ribbon circles the pool, tracing the edges of the memory. The golden one floats upward, shimmering warm reassurance. They move together in a gentle dance, a quiet reminder that connection doesn't fade just because time moves forward. Some moments leave echoes that continue to ripple, even long after the surface stills. The pool dims as you lift your hand. The ribbons descend. The light softens. A warm breeze brushes your cheek, carrying with it the soft scent of the sea. You stand and step away from the pool, feeling a calm fullness in your chest. A gentle sense of companionship, even though you're alone on this stretch of land. The peninsula widens again into a soft, sandy field, dotted with smooth white stones. The stones are arranged in an irregular pattern, but the shape feels intentional, like constellations scattered across the earth. As you continue forward, the stones begin to glow faintly, not bright, not dazzling, just a soft, steady radiance, like tiny lanterns guiding your way. And as you walk toward the next part of the island, the stones spark alive one by one behind you, not to follow, but to honor your passage. Beyond the constellation-like field, the terrain shifts into something new, a vast meadow covered in tall, silver-blue grass that sways like water. The grass moves in wide, rolling waves, and the entire meadow seems to breathe with the gentle rise and fall of an unseen tide. The sound is soothing, a soft, rhythmic hush, like pages of a giant book being turned. You step into the meadow, and the grass parts around you, creating a clear path without you ever having to push anything aside. It's as if the island is guiding you forward with a quiet sense of purpose. The air here carries a hint of something earthy and warm, mixed with the faint sweetness of blooming flowers. Though you don't see flowers yet, the scent lingers, carried on a breeze that seems to recognize your presence. As you walk deeper into the meadow, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The grass glows faintly where you step. Each footfall leaves behind a slow spreading ripple of soft light that flows outward before dissolving. It's beautiful, but also symbolic. A reminder that your presence has an effect, even when you can't see it immediately. A small rise appears ahead, and when you reach the top, you discover something unexpected. A stone circle. 12 stones arranged in a perfect ring, each one waist-high and carved with intricate swirling patterns. The designs look like a combination of ocean currents, wind trails, and branching roots. A map of natural movement etched into ancient surfaces. You step inside the circle. The moment your foot crosses the threshold, the air shifts. It becomes warmer, quieter, more focused. The meadow's hush dims, replaced by a soft pulsing tone, like a distant drum, slow and steady. The stones glow in response, each one illuminating with a different color. You place a hand on the nearest stone. It pulses, once, twice, like a slow heartbeat. And then, gently, gracefully, the circle comes alive. Soft strands of light rise from each stone, stretching upward and weaving together like threads forming a canopy of glowing fabric. The threads shimmer with colors that shift depending on where you look. Blues melting into greens, golds dissolving into warm rose, purples fading into pearly white. You stand at the center as the light forms a dome around you. Inside the dome, time feels softer, slower, more elastic. The pulsing tone deepens and images begin to unfold, not outside you, but within your awareness. Not memories this time, not emotions, not glimpses of your past, possibilities, paths, quiet potential. You see images of yourself moving through different moments in life, not predictions, but reflections of directions your heart might take if given space. You see yourself speaking gently when it matters, protecting your peace, choosing tenderness over tension, choosing clarity over chaos, choosing presence over pretending. The dome brightens, the possibilities settle, and then everything softens again, like the island is saying, "You are not fixed, you are unfolding." When the dome dissolves, the threads rise into the sky and fade. The stones dim. The pulsing tone fades into silence. You step out of the circle with a newfound steadiness in your breath. The meadow brightens ahead, and a new path forms through the swaying grass. One that wasn't there before, as if the circle revealed the right direction only after you were ready for it. You follow it. The grass leans away for you. The wind shifts behind you. The island seems to hum a quiet approval. The path carries you out of the meadow and into a landscape that feels like a transition, a gentle shift between two emotional atmospheres. The ground becomes firmer beneath your feet, covered in smooth, pale gravel that makes soft, crunching sounds as you walk. Ahead lies a grove of trees unlike any you've seen so far. Their trunks are tall and slender, shimmering with soft, iridescent shades of blue and silver. Their leaves are long, narrow, and semi-transparent, catching the light like thin sheets of frosted glass. As the breeze moves through them, the grove produces a sound like soft rainfall, Not actual rain, but the memory of rain, the comforting hum of water touching earth. You step into the grove. Immediately the air cools around you. Each breath feels refreshing, like an inhale after a quiet cry. A narrow stream winds through the grove, its water glowing faintly with pale turquoise light. The stones in the stream bed shine with pearlescent reflections, giving the water a dreamlike shimmer. You kneel beside it and dip your hand into the flow. The water carries a deeper calm than the river earlier. Not warm, not cold, but a perfect in-between, like the temperature of a long-forgotten comfort. As the water flows past your hand, memories rise. Subtle, wordless memories of moments when you found peace without realizing it. Small, unexpected comforts. The way sunlight filtered through your window once. The softness of a blanket after a long day. The quiet relief of a breath you didn't know you were holding. The water holds these feelings gently, then carries them downstream, as if reminding you that peace doesn't disappear. It flows. You follow the stream deeper into the grove. The trees grow taller, their leaves reaching like soft wings overhead. The light becomes more diffused, filling the space with a dreamlike haze. Eventually, you reach a clearing. At its center is a circular pool, perfectly round and lined with shimmering blue stones. A thin waterfall drips from a floating rock above it. A rock literally suspended in the air, held up by nothing but the island's quiet magic. The waterfall isn't constant. It drips, slowly, intentionally. Each drop hits the pool with a soft tone, a musical note so gentle you barely hear it, but deeply soothing nonetheless. You step closer. The pool reflects you, but not your current self. Not exactly. It reflects your emotional state, softened and distilled. You sit at the edge of the pool, letting the soft tones ripple through you. The floating rock drips again and again, each drop creating a tiny glow that spreads across the water. You close your eyes, and the island speaks to you without words. Healing isn't loud. It's quiet, it's slow, it's patient, just like this. When you open your eyes, the pool glows warmly, a quiet affirmation. You rise, feeling lighter, steadier, held. The grove opens ahead, revealing a wide, sunlit path leading onward. And once more, the island whispers its gentle encouragement. Keep going. You follow the wide, sunlit path as it leads you out of the grove and into a landscape that shifts again. Subtly, softly, like opening a new chapter. The air grows warmer and drier, carrying with it the scent of sun-warmed sand and something faintly floral, like distant blossoms carried across the island by the breeze. Ahead lies a sweeping expanse of rolling dunes. But these dunes aren't harsh or barren. They're covered in soft, velvety sand, in shades of pale gold and warm ivory, shaped into gentle curves that look almost sculpted. Even from a distance, you can tell the sand is finer here, powdery, light, the kind that moves like silk when touched. As you step onto the first dune, your feet sink just slightly, leaving imprints that glow faintly before fading into the natural smoothness of the landscape. The silence here feels different from earlier silences, less introspective, more like a peaceful emptiness, an open canvas for whatever comes next. Halfway up the first dune, you notice something unusual. The sand sparkles, not all at once, but in patches, like soft pockets of starlight buried beneath the surface. When you reach the top, the view opens into something breathtaking. A sea of dunes stretches endlessly in every direction, their soft curves glowing beneath the sunlight. But more extraordinary are the ribbons of shimmering dust swirling lazily across their peaks. trails of tiny, floating particles that drift in slow, serpentine patterns. They look like living streams of stardust, moving with a mind of their own. You take a step forward, and one of the shimmering ribbons responds, drifting toward you like a curious creature. It circles you once, brushing lightly against your shoulders, leaving a faint glow on your skin that fades slowly, like a gentle greeting from the land itself. The dunes hum faintly when the ribbon touches them, a soft, resonant tone, like the sound of a distant singing bowl. You follow the sound until you reach a cluster of rocks nestled between two dunes. The rocks are smooth, polished by time and wind, and arranged in a natural amphitheater shape. Curious, you approach them. As you step inside the circle of rocks, the shimmering ribbons above you gather. They swirl downward, spiraling into the center until they form a delicate helix of sparkling dust. The shape hovers just above the sand, pulsing gently with light. And then, slowly, gracefully, the helix begins to unwind. The dust spreads outward, forming shapes in the air. Scenes, not memories, not visions, something different. Possibilities, paths you didn't take, words you almost said, moments that could have existed if life had turned just slightly. But instead of showing them as regrets or as long-lost chances, the island shows them as gentle maybes. Soft, fluid shapes that drift like smoke, beautiful but not binding. You watch a scene take form, a version of you sitting at a table with someone you once cared for deeply. A conversation you never had, one where you spoke honestly, where they listened, where things felt peaceful instead of complicated. The dust swirls and the scene dissolves. Another forms. You choosing rest when you once pushed too hard. You saying no when you once said yes. A small act of self-kindness that could have changed a week, a month, a season. You feel no sting watching these possibilities. Just softness, understanding. Because the island isn't showing them to say you missed something. It's showing them to remind you that gentleness is always available. In the past, in the present, in the future. The dust spirals upward, gathering into a single glowing orb. It pulses once, twice, and then dissipates in a soft shimmer, leaving the air clear again. A warm breeze brushes your cheek, and the island seems to whisper, you are allowed to grow from what never happened too. You step out of the rock circle and begin descending the dune, feeling lighter with every breath. The dunes eventually flatten into a soft valley, dotted with strange, delicate structures. Tall, thin columns of sand, hardened into shape by wind and dew. They look like sculptures, each one twisting in gentle spirals that rise toward the sky like frozen smoke. You approach one and run your fingers along its surface. It's cool and firm, though it looks like it should collapse at a touch. The sand beneath your fingers vibrates lightly. Not enough to startle you, just enough to let you know the island is still aware, still listening. As you walk deeper into the valley, the columns begin to hum softly. Each one resonates with a different tone, some low and soothing, others high and airy. Together, the valley sings a harmonious chord, shifting subtly as you move through it, like a choir adjusting its pitch to accompany your presence. The sound wraps around you, warm and supportive. It feels like standing in the middle of an orchestra playing a song written specifically for your quietest emotions. Eventually, the valley opens into a clearing where the ground becomes smooth and pale, almost like polished marble. At the center lies an enormous shell-shaped structure, taller than you, wide enough to shelter a small group of travelers. Its surface shimmers with iridescent patterns, like the inside of a giant pearl. A gentle curiosity pulls you closer. When you stand beneath the arch of the shell, the hum of the valley fades into silence. Inside, sound behaves differently. It doesn't echo. It settles, as though the air itself catches and holds every vibration. You speak a soft word, maybe your name, maybe a breath, and the shell responds. Your voice comes back to you, not louder, not distorted, but clearer, gentler, like hearing yourself the way someone who loves you might hear you. You try again. Another soft word, a whisper, a sigh. Each one returns with a warmth you didn't expect, a softness that feels like reassurance. You realize the shell is not repeating your voice. It is softening it, filtering out harshness, removing every trace of self-criticism you unconsciously carry in your tone. The shell speaks your voice back to you, as if it believes in you. You stay there for a few long breaths, letting the softened echoes settle in your chest. When you finally step out of the shell, you feel something shift inside you. A quiet recognition that maybe you have been speaking to yourself more harshly than you realized, and that a gentler tone is possible. The path ahead leads to a ridge glowing with warm amber light. As you climb it, the sun dips slightly, casting long shadows that stretch across the sand like slow-moving waves. At the ridge's peak, you find a wind-swept plateau covered in smooth pebbles, arranged in spirals. Dozens of spirals, each unique. Some small and tight, others wide and wandering, all interconnected. You follow one spiral with your steps. It guides you inward, turning slowly, gently, until you reach its center. There, a single stone glows, soft, warm, inviting. You pick it up. It fits perfectly in your hand, shaped by time into a smooth, comforting oval. When you close your fingers around it, a quiet understanding flows through you. Not every path is straight. Not every journey is meant to be fast. Some are spirals, bringing you back to yourself in quieter circles. You hold the stone for a moment, letting the truth sink in, then place it back where it was, not out of obligation, but out of respect. The spiral opens again as you walk out of it, like a door unrolling behind you. Descending from the plateau, you enter a stretch of the island where the landscape becomes soft and green again. The ground is covered in thick, springy moss that cushions every step, and the air smells of fresh leaves and distant rainfall. Sunlight filters through high canopies of broad-leafed trees, each leaf glowing faintly at the edges as though outlined with moonlight. You walk along a winding path lined with soft, luminescent flowers. Their petals glow like tiny lanterns, opening wider as you approach and closing gently once you pass. The light they give off is warm and steady, just enough to illuminate the space without overwhelming it. You begin to notice something subtle. The flowers respond to your emotions. When your breath deepens, they glow brighter. When you slow your pace, they soften. When something inside you loosens, even a little, their light flickers in gentle celebration. The path leads you to a stone bridge arching over a narrow stream. The water here is darker, reflecting the canopy above like a sheet of glass. But when you look closer, you see faint streaks of light drifting beneath the surface, like distant fireflies swimming through shadows. You pause on the bridge, resting your hands on the cool stone railing. The stream below flows slowly, carrying the floating lights downstream in a lazy, meandering path. And something about watching the lights drift makes your shoulders drop, makes your breath slow, makes your mind quiet. There is a peacefulness in watching something small move gently forward, knowing it isn't rushing, isn't straining, isn't trying to be anything other than what it is. A single light floats beneath the bridge, glowing a soft blue. Something about it feels familiar. You lean closer, and the moment you do, the light brightens. It pulses once. A soft echo of emotion rises in your chest. A memory you thought had faded entirely. A moment of kindness from someone you barely remember now. A tiny expression of care that once meant everything, even if only for a heartbeat. The light drifts on, and as it goes, the memory softens, settling comfortably in your chest instead of clinging like it used to. You continue across the bridge, and the forest opens again into a field of tall grasses, swaying in slow, rhythmic waves. In the center stands a circular stone platform, partially covered in moss and vines. It looks ancient, but lovingly preserved, like a place the island cherishes. You step onto it. The air grows very still. A soft vibration rises beneath your feet. Not sound, not movement, more like a warm recognition. The platform glows faintly, outlining its circular shape. And then, without warning, a single stone in the center cracks open. Not violently, gently, like a seed pod splitting after a long season. Inside is a soft, glowing light, warm but not bright, small but steady. It floats upward, hovering at chest height. You reach out with your palm. The light drifts closer, closer, then touches your hand. A warmth spreads through your body. Not heat, but relief, softness, a sense of being held. The light pulses, and inside your mind, a feeling rises. You have done your best. You are doing your best. You will keep doing your best, and that is enough. The light dissolves into soft particles that drift into the air, like golden pollen, disappearing slowly. You stand very still, letting the truth settle in your bones. The island feels different now, quieter, more intimate. You know there is still more to discover, more to understand, more to release. And as you step off the platform, the island seems to breathe with you. Keep going. The path beyond the stone platform leads you deeper into a part of the island that feels older. Not in a decaying way, but in a wise, timeless way. The air cools slightly, and as you walk, you notice the ground shifting from moss-covered earth to a smooth, pale stone, embedded with shimmering flecks that glint like tiny stars. The stone path winds gently through a grove of towering trees whose trunks are covered in swirling silver patterns, like ancient calligraphy etched by time itself. The patterns glow faintly as you pass, reacting to your presence with a soft, steady pulse. As you continue, the canopy above becomes thicker, filtering sunlight into a dim, dreamlike glow. You hear a sound in the distance, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like droplets hitting hollow wood. But as you get closer, the rhythm becomes more complex, like a layered beat gently guiding your steps. Soon, the path opens into a circular clearing, where dozens of small, round stones hover a few inches above the ground. They're smooth and polished, lightly spinning in place, like planets orbiting an unseen center. Each stone emits a different sound when it turns, some deeper, some higher, forming a harmonized pattern of tones that feels soothing in a deeply instinctive way. You take a slow breath, stepping closer. The moment you cross the threshold of the clearing, the stones shift. Not dramatically, just a soft reorientation. They tilt toward you, adjusting the rhythm to match your pace, your breath, your presence. It feels like the entire clearing is tuning itself to you. Drawn by curiosity, you reach out to one of the hovering stones. Your fingers brush its surface, and instantly, a wave of warmth spreads up your arm. The tone deepens, and inside your mind, a feeling surfaces, gentle, but vivid. A moment when someone truly listened to you, not for what they wanted to hear or what they expected of you, but for you. A memory of being received without judgment. The feeling expands in your chest, filling you with a warmth that's almost nostalgic. Not painful, not longing, just present. The stone rotates faster for a moment, then slows again, as if thanking you for touching it. You move your hand to another stone. This one produces a higher, softer tone. A new feeling rises. The sensation of peace after finishing something difficult. The moment you finally rested. The breath you didn't realize you'd been holding until it finally escaped. The island isn't reminding you of accomplishments, only of what it felt like to be human and gentle with yourself. One by one, you brush your fingers along a few more stones, each one offering a tiny echo of emotion, a fragment of peace, a warm flicker of recognition. And slowly, the tones merge into a soft, lullaby-like rhythm. Not sad, not heavy, just kind. You step back, and the stones return to their original positions, continuing their soft, synchronized dance. At the far end of the clearing, a new path reveals itself, one that wasn't visible before, but now glows faintly, inviting you forward. You take a slow breath and follow it. The rhythm of the stones lingers behind you as you move deeper into the island's heart. The new path leads you into an open glade filled with tall reeds that sway gently in the breeze. The reeds shimmer with hues of pale gold and muted jade, their tips glowing like embers at twilight. As the wind moves through them, they produce a soft brushing sound, like pages being turned in a gigantic book. You step carefully between the reeds, feeling their warm glow brush against your arms. Each touch leaves a faint trail of light on your skin, which fades slowly, like gentle sparks drifting off a warm fire. The deeper you go, the thicker the reeds become, forming a kind of natural maze. But the path is intuitive. The reeds part for you with quiet ease, opening just enough space for your steps and closing softly again behind you. Eventually, you arrive at the center of the glade. Here, the reeds form a perfect circle around a small stone pedestal. The pedestal is simple, smooth and round, carved from pale stone. But atop it sits an object so delicate, you almost hesitate to approach it. A glass-like sphere, perfectly clear, perfectly still, resting in a cradle of carved roots. You step closer. The sphere glows faintly. Inside it, tiny swirls of light drift like slow-motion snowfall. You place your hand near the sphere, not touching, just hovering. The light inside responds instantly. At first, it swirls faster. Then, it calms. Then, slowly, shapes begin to form within the sphere. But not literal shapes. Abstract impressions, colors, feelings. You see muted blues, soft grays, and gentle amber shades weaving together. And with them comes a memory. Not vivid, not clear, but emotional. A moment when you felt conflicted. A moment you didn't know what to do, and judged yourself harshly for not knowing. The sphere holds the memory, not to remind you of discomfort, but to soften it. You watch as the swirling colors shift from cloudy gray to warm gold, as if the sphere is showing how that moment changed you, how it shaped you, how it became part of the quiet strength you carry now. The sphere glows brighter. A new color emerges, a pale, shimmering green, the color of beginnings, of soft hope. The sphere gently rolls in its cradle, as if offering you something. You reach out and rest your fingertips against the glass. Warmth spreads through you, not the fiery warmth of excitement, but the steady, comforting warmth of acceptance. Acceptance of who you were then. Acceptance of who you are now. acceptance of the quiet evolution happening inside you, day by day. The sphere pulses once, and the light around it softens, dissolving slowly until the sphere becomes clear again, its purpose fulfilled for now. You take a deep breath, a breath that feels fuller, deeper than before, and step back from the pedestal. The reeds around you glow a little brighter, as though acknowledging your moment of understanding. A pathway opens behind them, leading out of the glade. And as you follow it, the breeze carries a new whisper through the reeds. You don't have to carry every version of yourself, only the ones that help you grow. The path carries you into a wide clearing washed in soft golden light. The air here is warm and still, filled with the faint scent of fresh rain, even though no clouds appear overhead. It's a comforting scent, nostalgic, grounding, like the memory of being sheltered indoors while the world softened outside. In the center of the clearing stands an enormous stone archway. Unlike the earlier archways entwined with vines or leaves, this one is smooth, polished, and untouched, carved from a single slab of creamy white stone. It glows faintly along its edges, humming with a quiet energy. As you approach, you feel the archway's stillness, not empty, but expectant, like it's waiting, like it understands something about you that you haven't yet put into words. You step closer. The archway shifts, not visibly, the stone doesn't move, but the light along its surface brightens, forming subtle lines that pulse with gentle rhythm. Then a sound arises from within the arch, not a melody, not a voice, a vibration, soft, deep, resonant, like the sound of someone speaking from far beneath the earth. You place your hand on the stone. A wave of sensation moves through you, not a memory, not a vision, but something simpler, a feeling of being deeply, quietly grounded. The archway itself seems to speak in the language of presence, of stillness, of truth that doesn't require explanation. You breathe deeply, and as you do, the light on the archway forms patterns, spirals, branching lines, soft curves, each one emerging and fading in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. None of the patterns feel random. They move with intention, like the archway is showing a map, not of a place, but of your inner landscape. You see a spiral that reminds you of cycles you've lived through. You see branching lines that resemble the choices you've made. You see curves that look like the soft turn of healing, slow but sure. The archway glows brighter. Then, the space within the arch fills with shimmering light. Not blinding, not dazzling, just a soft, inviting glow. Instinctively, you step through. The instant you cross the threshold, the world shifts. The air becomes warmer, scented with sunlight and distant flowers. The ground beneath your feet feels like soft, warm stone, and a gentle breeze wraps around you in a way that feels almost like an embrace. On the other side of the arch is a circular courtyard made of smooth white stone. At its center stands a low, quiet fountain. The water flows upward in slow, graceful arcs, moving as gently as breath. Each droplet sparkles with tiny flecks of golden light. You sit at the edge of the fountain, listening to the water's slow rhythm. It's peaceful, steady, almost like a heartbeat that isn't yours, but feels connected to you somehow. The water arcs higher for a moment, then settles again. A feeling rises inside you, a truth that has been waiting. You realize, this island isn't here to remind you of everything you've forgotten. It's here to remind you of everything you've survived, everything you've grown through, everything that still lives softly within you. You place your hand in the fountain. The water warms instantly, and the island whispers in your mind. You are allowed to be proud of the quiet ways you've healed. You close your eyes, and for a moment all is still, soft, warm, whole. When you open your eyes again, the courtyard seems to glow with new light. The journey continues, and the island, gentle and patient as ever, invites you forward. You rise from the fountain's edge, the warmth still lingering in your fingers, and step toward the far side of the courtyard. There, carved into the stone floor, is a pattern you hadn't noticed before. A wide spiral made from inlaid lines of faintly glowing gold. The spiral isn't large enough to be imposing, but its presence feels intentional, like an unspoken invitation. You follow the spiral inward with your steps, slowly, deliberately. The air changes as you approach its center. Not colder, not warmer, just quieter, as if each step gently lowers the volume of the world. When you reach the middle of the spiral, the stone beneath your feet gives a soft vibration, like a distant hum settling deep into your bones. Then the spiral glows brighter, and the ground around you begins to shift. Not physically, but visually, as though the air itself is painting a scene around you, with broad strokes of warm, gentle light. You blink, and suddenly you're surrounded by soft silhouettes. Not people, not creatures, just outlines, made of light, drifting like floating sketches. They move slowly, peacefully, and as they pass near you, each silhouette sends a quiet wave of emotion through your chest. One feels like comfort, another feels like understanding, another like the soft ache of learning something the hard way, another like quiet resilience. They don't interact with you. They simply orbit, drifting like memories that never quite hardened into stories. Then one silhouette stops beside you. Its glow brightens, and suddenly you feel something you haven't felt in a while. A recognition, not of a moment, but of a pattern in your life. A truth that existed beneath the surface, but never had language until now. You realize this silhouette isn't just energy. It represents the part of you that kept going, even when you felt stuck. The part that survived every difficult moment you rarely give yourself credit for. The glow pulses once, gently, reassuringly, and then it drifts away, joining the others as they scatter upward and dissolve like golden dust. The spiral beneath you dims, returning to its quiet glow. A narrow passageway opens along the courtyard's edge, one you hadn't noticed until now, revealed as if the island waited for you to see what you needed before showing you what comes next. You step toward it. The passage leads into a cool, shaded corridor, carved from pale stone. Soft light seeps through narrow cuts in the walls, illuminating the path with shifting patterns that look like moving water. As you walk, the corridor bends gently, and the air carries a faintly sweet scent, something like jasmine mixed with warm earth. The scent grows stronger with each step, comforting and nostalgic. Finally, the corridor opens into a towering hall of stone arches. The arches rise high above you, each one etched with patterns that resemble flowing water frozen in time. The space feels ancient but alive, as if thousands of stories were spoken here in whispers long before you arrived. A soft wind drifts through the hall, sounding like distant singing. You stand in the center, looking up, and without warning, but without any fear, the hall begins to change. Light spills down from the highest arch, pooling at your feet, then rising like a slow, warm tide. You feel something unfolding inside you too. A soft remembering, a gentle strengthening, a quiet invitation to step deeper into who you are becoming. The hall brightens, and the island whispers, "Come." The light continues to gather around your feet, rising like a warm mist that gently wraps around your legs before dissolving into the air. It doesn't cling, it doesn't overwhelm, it simply guides you onward. Ahead, the hall opens into a chamber unlike anything you've seen before. The ceiling is a dome carved from shimmering stone, its surface embedded with thousands of tiny, glowing flecks, like a night sky captured indoors. They twinkle subtly, shifting in brightness, forming new constellations with every slow blink you take. The floor is covered in soft white sand that cushions each step, and in the center of the chamber lies a perfect circle filled with shallow, crystalline water. The water is so still it looks like a mirror, yet it reflects not the dome above, but a deep twilight sky filled with stars that look brighter than any you've ever seen. You kneel beside the water, mesmerized. The surface shifts, just slightly, as if responding to your breath. You reach out and skim your fingertips across the water. Immediately, the reflection ripples, and new shapes appear. Not memories, not possibilities, something else. Truths, inner truths, ones you haven't had language for until now. The water shows them not as words, but as emotional impressions that bloom inside your chest. The truth that you have been carrying too much for too long. The truth that you've been harder on yourself than anyone else ever has. The truth that you rarely let yourself rest without earning it. The truth that you often believe you must be strong for others, even when you feel fragile inside. The impressions aren't painful. They're tender. They allow you to see yourself without judgment, the way the island sees you. You touch the water again. This time, warm light rises from the surface, swirling like soft smoke before taking shape. A single glowing line forms in the air, then splits into two, then into three. Each line curves, flows, joins with another, until the shapes form an image, a figure sitting in stillness with their hand over their heart. The light pulses, as if saying, "You deserve gentleness even from yourself." The shapes dissolve into the air, leaving the chamber quiet again. You sit beside the water for a long moment, breathing slowly. It feels like some inner door has opened, a door that wasn't locked, just forgotten. When you stand, the water glows softly one last time, then stills completely. At the far side of the chamber, a new corridor appears. A warm light glows at its entrance, pulsing gently. You walk toward it. The corridor curves downward, leading you to a lower chamber carved directly into the island's bedrock. The walls are smooth and cool, and faint veins of glowing stone run through them like quiet streams of light. The sound of water echoes ahead, slow, rhythmic, peaceful. You follow the sound until you reach another opening. This time, the chamber beyond feels less like architecture and more like a dream. The chamber opens into a vast underground cavern, illuminated by a soft, golden light that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The ceiling stretches high overhead, patterned with smooth arches that resemble the underside of a seashell. Pale, luminescent moss covers the walls, bathing the space in a warm, honey-like glow. At the center of the cavern lies an underground lake, perfectly still, perfectly quiet. Its surface glows faintly like moonlit fabric stretched across the earth. You step toward it, not because the island instructs you to, but because something deep inside you feels pulled toward the stillness. The moment you reach the shore, the lake responds. Soft rings of light ripple outward from where you stand, as if the water itself sensed your presence and is greeting you in the only language it knows. The air here is warm, almost embracing. It smells faintly of clean stone and something sweet, like the memory of a childhood comfort you can't fully name. You sit at the edge of the lake, letting your legs dangle just above the surface. You don't need to touch it. Your nearness is enough. A quiet awareness rises in your chest. This part of the island feels like its heart, not its center on a map, but its emotional center. A place where the island remembers not just everything that happened, but everything that mattered. The lake rises silently, not in height, but in presence. Its glow brightens, its stillness deepens. And then, without rippling, the water begins to reflect something. Not the cavern, not the arches, not the glowing walls. You, but not as you look, as you feel. The reflection shows you sitting peacefully, your shoulders less tense, your breath slower, your expression softened by understanding rather than expectation. For a moment, the reflection shifts into different versions of yourself. The you who tried, the you who struggled, the you who endured, the you who loved quietly, the you who learned without recognition. Each version sits beside the reflection like quiet companions. A reminder that you've lived through more than you give yourself credit for. The water glows brighter, and the reflections merge into one, a single you, whole, gentle, present. A warmth spreads through your chest, not sharp, not overwhelming, but deep and calming, like being wrapped in a blanket, woven from moments of quiet truth. The lake settles again. The glow dims gently. You place your hand on the stone beside you and exhale. A long, steady breath that feels like releasing years of unspoken tension. A small path reveals itself at the edge of the cavern, lit by soft pools of light. Another invitation, another chapter. You rise slowly, taking one last look at the tranquil lake. And just as you turn away, the water forms a single glowing ripple that spreads across its surface, as if saying, "You are ready." You step onto the glowing path. The cavern breathes with you, and the journey continues. The glowing path that leads you out of the cavern feels warm beneath your feet, pulsing softly as though the island is breathing in harmony with you. The air grows lighter with every step, and soon the glow transitions into natural daylight, filtering through a narrow fissure ahead. You step through it, emerging into a quiet valley carved from smooth stone, its walls rising on both sides like gentle guardian cliffs. The valley floor is covered in a pale, velvet-like grass that sways with the faintest breeze. But the most striking part is the silence. Not an empty silence, a meaningful one, the kind of silence you feel after speaking a truth you've kept to yourself for far too long. The silence that waits, patiently, for your next breath. You inhale deeply. The air is cool and smells faintly of eucalyptus and rain-soaked stone. As you move forward, you notice small shapes embedded in the valley walls. At first, you think they're simple indentations, natural marks formed by time. But as you approach, they shift into clarity. They are carvings, soft, flowing carvings shaped like waves, leaves, spirals, and threads. Each carving glows faintly, as though holding a quiet memory of its own. You brush your fingers over one shaped like a curling leaf. Warmth spreads through your fingertips, and a feeling rises, gentle but clear. A moment when you forgave someone silently, even without an apology. A small act of emotional generosity you never acknowledged. The carving dims slightly as if bowing, recognizing the truth it awakened. You continue walking, touching another carving. This one, a small spiral. Warmth again. A new feeling surfaces. A time you didn't give up, even though giving up would have been easier. A moment of resilience you forgot to honor. You pause, letting the realization settle. The island remembers not only what hurt you, but also every quiet strength you carried through the pain. Farther along, you find carvings shaped like threads weaving into one another. When you touch them, they glow brighter, revealing a feeling of connection. The subtle truth that even in your loneliest moments, someone, somewhere, cared more deeply than you realized. You continue through the valley, letting the carvings guide you without forcing anything. With each one, you feel something soften, unravel, realign. At the valley's end, a single stone door awaits. Tall, smooth, unadorned, it does not glow or hum. It simply stands there, silent and steady. You reach out, your hand meets the stone, and instantly the door dissolves into warm light, opening into a new space. A space that feels like an exhale, a release, a transition from deep introspection into something gentle and new. You step through the light, and the island shifts around you once more. The light fades into the gentle glow of an open field, bathed in warm afternoon sun. The field stretches far in every direction, covered in soft grass the color of pale sage. The blades sway slowly, moving not with the wind, but with the gentle rhythm of the island's pulse. At the center of the field stands a large, ancient tree. Its trunk is wide and smooth, shimmering with soft colors that shift as though lit by an inner fire. Its branches stretch outward like welcoming arms. Its leaves sparkle faintly, catching the sunlight in rippling waves. You approach it slowly. The mere presence of this tree feels soothing, like standing near someone who has known you all your life, who asks for nothing and offers everything quietly. When you reach the base of the tree, something remarkable happens. A low, resonant hum rises from the earth. Not a vibration, a presence. The tree seems to breathe. Its bark glows warmly, and then a small opening forms, just large enough for you to step inside. You hesitate only for a moment, not out of fear, but awe. Inside, the tree is hollow, but it doesn't feel empty. The walls shimmer like polished amber, swirling with layers of golden resin that seem to hold the stories of countless lifetimes. A soft cushion of moss covers the floor. It invites you to sit. So, you do. The moment you settle, the tree responds. Light spreads upward from the base, flowing around the interior in slow, spiraling streams. The air warms and carries a scent like honey, warm sap, and a hint of ocean salt. You close your eyes instinctively. The softness of the tree's breath is too comforting to resist. Inside your mind, images begin to flicker. Not memories, not visions, affirmations. Truths the island believes about you. You see yourself resting, truly resting, without guilt. You see yourself speaking gently to yourself during a hard moment. You see yourself saying no where you once said yes out of fear. You see yourself choosing peace, not as an escape, but as an act of care. The tree glows brighter. Its hum deepens. And then a new feeling rises, one you didn't expect. Permission. Permission to grow. Permission to change. Permission to stop carrying old versions of yourself. Permission to feel everything without needing to justify it. You open your eyes. The tree's interior glows with warm, soft light. Slowly the hum fades, the light dims, and the opening appears again. You stand, stepping out into the field. The sunlight feels warmer now, more personal. As you walk away from the tree, its leaves rustle in a gentle wave. Not a farewell, but a blessing. Ahead, a narrow path forms in the grass. A path that wasn't there before. A path that feels like a quiet continuation. You follow it, and the island leads you onward. The path from the great tree winds gently through a wide meadow, where clusters of soft, glowing flowers sway in slow patterns. Their petals emit a faint silver-blue light, bright enough to illuminate the way, but gentle enough to keep the world wrapped in calm. As you walk between them, some flowers lean slightly toward you, brushing your arms, releasing warm puffs of light that cling to your skin like delicate fireflies. It feels affectionate, playful, a light-hearted contrast to the deeper introspections of earlier. Soon, the path leads you to a small hill. At the top stands a stone bench shaped like a crescent moon. Its surface is smooth and warm, inviting you to sit and look out over the meadow. You accept the invitation. From the bench, the view feels almost surreal. The glowing flowers, the sage-colored grass, the distant shimmer of the ancient tree. Everything bathed in a soft golden haze as the sun lowers gently in the sky. As you sit, a warm breeze wraps around you. It carries whispers, not of words exactly, more like emotional echoes, whispers of clarity, whispers of peace, whispers of gentle truths the island has been trying to show you through every experience. You close your eyes, and the whispers become more distinct. You hear the soft reminder from the pool of memories, the reassurance from the melodic stones, the acceptance from the glowing sphere, the grounding from the archway, the compassion from the lake. Every part of the island you visited begins to weave together, forming a calm, steady understanding inside you. Not a single revelation, but a layered truth. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are shaped by what you continued to feel, continued to hope, continued to grow toward, despite it. A soft sound draws your attention. A single glowing petal descends from the sky, gently spiraling like a feather. It lands lightly in your hand, its warmth spreading softly through your palm. The petal glows brighter, pulsing twice. A gentle affirmation, a quiet heartbeat from the island itself. Then it dissolves into warm sparks of light. You rise from the bench, feeling steadier, fuller, deeply aligned. At the base of the hill, a new path appears, winding toward the horizon, lit by points of soft golden light. The journey hasn't ended. It's simply shifting into its next chapter. You take your first step onto the path. The meadow breathes with you, and the island, as always, whispers, "Keep going." You follow the softly glowing path as it leads you out of the meadow. The light beneath your feet pulses gently with every step, a subtle reassurance that the island is still guiding you, still walking beside you in its own quiet way. The air grows cooler as the sun begins to dip lower in the sky. A soft golden hue spills across the land, turning the world into a warm watercolor painting. The path leads you toward a cluster of tall, slender stones rising from the earth like ancient markers. Their surfaces shimmer with faint bands of color that shift depending on the angle of the light. As you approach them, the wind picks up. Not a harsh wind, but a soft, steady breeze that sounds like the whisper of someone humming from far away. The stones react, their glowing bands brighten, and each one emits a soft tone, a gentle, bell-like resonance, harmonious and warm. The tones overlap in slow waves, forming a melody that feels familiar, even though you've never heard it before. You step between the stones. The melody shifts, adjusting to your presence. The air vibrates softly around you, and you feel the sound traveling through your chest like a comforting heartbeat. Each stone holds a memory, not a personal one, but something akin to an emotional imprint. You can sense it as you pass them. The soft hum of resilience, the warm pulse of compassion, the deeper resonance of strength earned quietly. the gentle vibration of letting go. You run your fingers along the surface of one of the stones. It's warm, smooth, and almost velvety. The moment you touch it, the tone lowers into a deeper hum, like the sound of a long exhale. Inside that hum, a feeling rises. Not a moment, not a scene. A truth. You have carried yourself through moments you never thought you'd endure. You kept going on days when standing felt impossible. And even when you felt lost, you were moving forward. Even in stillness, you were healing. The hum deepens, warming your chest. You close your eyes and breathe slowly, letting the resonance fill you. When you open your eyes, a soft pathway of glowing dust stretches beyond the circle of stones, winding into a softly lit forest. You follow it. The forest is different from any other you've walked through on the island. The trees are tall and pale, their leaves thin and translucent like sheets of silk. The branches sway soundlessly, and the air smells of something gentle, the soft sweetness of chamomile mixed with warm earth. As you walk deeper, the glowing dust disperses into tiny particles that float serenely like golden snow. They drift around you, gathering into faint shapes. Not clear, not literal, but suggestions of silhouettes. You feel watched, not in a frightening way. In the way someone watches you with care, with pride, with quiet joy. The way the island has been watching you since you arrived. One shape drifts closer, its edges shimmering and soft. It doesn't speak. It doesn't need to. You feel its presence as a warm truth rising through your chest. You are becoming softer, not smaller. You are becoming wiser, not heavier. The shape dissolves into light. You breathe out slowly, the truth settling gently into your bones. The forest begins to thin, and a dim glow appears ahead, an opening, inviting you forward. The forest opens into a wide, luminous glade. At its center sits a structure unlike anything else on the island. A circular pavilion, crafted from white stone, its columns wrapped in delicate, glowing vines. The vines pulse slowly with a soft blue-green light, illuminating the space with a calming glow. The pavilion looks ancient and sacred, yet welcoming. It feels like a place where the island keeps its most gentle truths, the ones meant to be understood with the heart, not the mind. You step inside. Immediately the air shifts, warmer, denser, like being wrapped in a soft cloud. The sound of the world dims. Even your heartbeat seems quieter, as though the pavilion is inviting stillness. At the center of the pavilion lies a low stone basin, filled with glowing water. The surface isn't still. It swirls in slow spirals, forming patterns that glide like ink drifting through milk. You approach it and kneel. The water reaches toward you, not splashing, not rising, just a soft upward glow, like its light is leaning in to meet your gaze. You dip your fingers into it. The moment your skin touches the surface, the spiral freezes. The water becomes perfectly still. Then, slowly, images begin to form within the glow. Not memories, not potentials, not emotional echoes. Something deeper. Foundations. Core truths that have been quietly shaping you for years. You see shapes that look like small stones being placed gently in layers, each one glowing with meaning. The patience you developed through necessity. The empathy you learned by witnessing your own wounds. The quiet strength you built by showing up, even when it felt like no one noticed. The courage formed from moments when you chose healing over bitterness. The water brightens. A new layer appears, one that feels both familiar and surprising. Your capacity for softness, even after everything. You hadn't named that before. You hadn't realized how extraordinary it was. The pavilion fills with warm light, The vines shimmer. The basin glows brighter. Then, all at once, the glow softens and the images fade. The spiral resumes, swirling gently again as if whispering, "This is who you are becoming." You rise slowly. The air inside the pavilion shifts again. A breeze begins to circulate, gentle as a sigh. It carries with it the faintest trace of a voice. Not words exactly. Something closer to intention. A feeling, a message. You are ready to release what you've outgrown. The pavilion brightens. The vines pulse. And a soft pathway of light forms beyond the farthest column. You step toward it. The moment your foot crosses the threshold, the pavilion dims, its purpose fulfilled. The island guides you onward. The pathway leads you into the final twilight of the island. That magical moment when day begins to sink into evening, when everything glows a little warmer, softer, more honest. Ahead, the land slopes upward into a wide hilltop, coated in shimmering grass that looks like strands of silver spun through gold. The sky is painted in hues of lavender and peach, and the first stars begin to blink awake above you. At the top of the hill stands a solitary wooden gate. It isn't connected to any fence. It doesn't lead into an enclosed space. It simply stands there, quiet, weathered, waiting. When you reach it, the breeze stills. You place your hand on the wood. It's warm. The gate swings open with no sound. And the moment it does, everything changes. A soft glow rises from the ground, spilling forward like a carpet of warm stardust. Beyond the gate lies a long walkway made of smooth stone slabs. On either side, tall grasses sway like gentle guardians, their tips glowing like tiny lantern flames. The walkway leads to a circular platform at the hill's peak. You walk forward slowly. Each step feels like walking deeper into yourself, into a version of you that has been waiting patiently, quietly, lovingly. When you reach the platform, the island reveals its final gift. The sky opens wide above you, revealing a breathtaking tapestry of stars. Not the stars you know. Stars brighter, closer, shimmering with living light. They move, slowly, deliberately, forming shapes in the sky. You watch, mesmerized. The stars form a spiral, then an arc, then a soft wave, then a shape you recognize. A figure with a hand on their heart. You. Not the you fear you are. Not the you shaped by pressure or pain. The you the island sees. The you are growing into. The you deserve to become. Warmth fills your chest. Your eyes soften. Your breath deepens. The stars shift again, forming words. Not literal letters, but gentle movements that translate directly into understanding. You've carried enough. Let the rest go. The sky glows brighter. The breeze returns. The land hums softly beneath your feet. You stand there for a long, quiet moment, breathing, becoming, receiving. The platform warms beneath your feet. A final golden ripple of light spreads outward from where you stand, traveling across the island like a soft exhalation. You feel the island responding. Every grove, every pool, every dune, every carving, every glowing stone, acknowledging your journey. And then, gently, the warmth settles. The stars dim to their natural glow. The wind sighs, the grasses sway softly, and the island whispers one final time before the outro. Keep going. You're almost home. You stand on the circular platform beneath the slowly shifting sky, feeling the soft hum of the island settle deep into your chest. The twilight has grown richer now, deeper shades of purple and blue, swirling gently at the edges of the horizon, blending into a soft glow that surrounds everything. The air grows warm and still, as though the island is holding its breath with you. For a long moment, you say nothing, You don't need to. Silence feels full here, full of meaning, full of presence, full of everything you've allowed yourself to feel on this journey. When you finally take a step forward, the grasses part ahead of you, revealing a new path descending from the hilltop. The stones beneath your feet glow softly as you move, lighting your way with a calm, steady rhythm. The land around you shifts as you walk, slowly, subtly, as though the island is rearranging itself to reflect the changes within you. The air carries a gentle warmth, and the distant hum of night insects begins to rise, soft, melodic, woven into the heartbeat of the land. You descend the hill and enter a wide, open field, bathed in the lavender blue of early night. Fireflies drift lazily through the grass, their glow pulsing in slow harmony with the island's breath. You walk through them gently, watching as they scatter like floating stars. At the far end of the field, you find something unexpected. A quiet shoreline. The same ocean you saw when you first arrived, but transformed in color, shimmering like melted moonlight, reflecting the sky's deepening hues. The waves are slow here, slow enough that each one feels like a thought arriving softly at the edge of your mind. You walk toward the water. The sand cools beneath your feet, smooth and fine, dusted with faint glimmers of silver. The tide stretches toward you as if in greeting. When the water brushes your toes, it feels warm, like a gentle touch, a reminder that the island is still with you, even here at the edge. And then, the ocean begins to glow. Soft ripples of pale white and soft turquoise spread out across the surface, forming patterns so delicate they feel like whispers. But they are not memories this time, not possibilities, not emotional echoes. They are acknowledgments of your steps, of your breath, of your softness, of your growing, of your courage. The glowing ripples form a wide, slow wave that travels toward the horizon and dissolves into the darkening sky. The breeze picks up, warm and forgiving. Behind you, the island shifts again. You turn, expecting to see another grove or stone circle or glowing path. But what you see is something far more meaningful. A soft golden outline of the island's shape, drawn in light across the land. All the places you have walked, all the places that held you, all the places that taught you something without speaking a word. One by one, each place glows. The lagoon of memories, the melodic stones, the valley of carvings, the ancient tree, the lake beneath the earth, and the starlit hill where the truth unfolded. They light like lanterns, illuminated from within. Not to dazzle you, not to overwhelm, just to remind you that you walked through all of this, and you are walking out changed. The glow softens, the island breathes, and in the warm hush of early night, you realize the island didn't heal you. It showed you where you were already healing yourself. You inhale deeply, letting the truth settle. The stars above glow brighter. The waves sigh softly against the shore. And the island's voice, gentle, steady, loving, rises for the very last time. You can return whenever you need to. You carry the island now. You close your eyes. The world softens. Your breath deepens. And you prepare to drift into the quiet comfort of the night. The shore grows quieter as you step away from the water, finding a soft place in the sand to sit. The night sky stretches wide above you, filled with slow-moving stars that drift like glowing petals on a dark canvas. A warm breeze brushes your skin, gentle and grounding, signaling that the journey is coming to a peaceful close. You settle deeper into the sand, letting your body grow heavier, letting the island's calming rhythms move through you, one last time. The tide rolls in gently, brushing the shore with soft, steady breaths. You mirror the rhythm. Inhale, exhale, slow, unhurried. Around you, the island quiets. The grasses sway softly. The glowing paths dim to a gentle warmth. The distant lights of all the places you visited pulse once, like a final wave of understanding, and then dissolve into the tender dark of night. You close your eyes, feeling the echoes of everything you experienced. The soft truths, the gentle reassurances, the steady invitations to rest, to let go, to grow. Each one settles inside you like a warm ember, glowing faintly, ready to guide you whenever you need it again. The island has given you something precious. Not answers, not commands, but a mirror. A way to see your own resilience, your softness, your deeply human courage. And as you lie here, wrapped in the quiet glow of the island that remembered everything, you feel a deep stillness settle inside you. A stillness that says, you are safe now. You are enough now. You can rest now. The night settles fully. The stars drift slowly overhead. Your breath deepens, softens, loosens, and the island, steady and timeless, watches over you with calm affection. Soon, sleep will take you the way the tide takes a grain of sand, gently, patiently, without hurry. But before the story fades into dreams, here are the final words you hear. Thank you for listening to Mindtales Sleep Stories. If you enjoyed this story, please consider giving it a subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs a peaceful night. The rest is quiet. The rest is yours. The rest is sleep.